So, welcome everyone to my first live stream here with Slightly Crazy Vegan. As
Hey.
actually, Emily, if you want to, or Slightly Crazy Vegan, if you want to introduce yourself first, who you are, what your channel's about, all that good stuff.
Oh, good. Oh, I just got the notification for our live. Okay, hang on. Let me just.
So, welcome.
There we go. Hang on. All right, so I'm Slightly Crazy Vegan. That's my YouTube channel, but my name is Emily. Nice to meet you guys. So my channel, I'm not a nutrition or fitness channel at all. I just like to talk about like vegan ethics and also nudism. So yeah, I have like nude cooking shows, but I also cover like vegan topics as well.
Awesome. All right, give me a second. I'm gonna actually put this on full screen there. So
yeah, because it looks like it's only small.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, because it's recording the screen. It should be better now.
Okay.
So sorry about that, guys. All right, so now that you guys know who Slightly Crazy Vegan is, as you guys already know who I am, we just wanted to cover a few topics as I've had a few requests from people in regards to all the new things or all the new topics, I guess you can say, that are going on with the vegan community. And I guess we should just get right into it. So what are your thoughts in regards to what's going on with John Venus and all that stuff? And then we'll later talk about everything that has come from that. So what are your thoughts in regards to John Venus and him quitting veganism and all that stuff?
Okay. So my thoughts on John, I think it's just out of fear. Like, I think I kind of follow what like his brother has to say, because obviously he's the one who knows him the best. So John is just like fearful, like he's become like he's a dad, and obviously like his wife's family are hunters, and you can see in like the background that he has like all those trophies, but they're not John's, they're like his wife's family. So you can tell that he has like this influence, and it can be, it basically is just social pressure, which really sucks. And I think that as soon as like, one or two things health-wise went wrong, which like isn't necessarily related to diet, I think he just got a bit like afraid there, like, oh, what happens if I do this to my child? And it's just like, it's just really, I guess people are afraid. Yeah.
I was kind of confused about it myself. Now you seem to be under the impression that you think he's legitimately scared, or he's worried about his kid?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you talked to Dr. Leo Venus about that, by chance?
I talked to him a little bit about it, but most of the information that I got is from his live streams and stuff. He's just said like, he's just like, from his live stream, he said, he's just fearful of like, because when I talked to him, I said, are you still vegan, right? Because I was worried. And then Leo's like, yeah, I'm still vegan. It's a shock to him too. I have to have a talk with him because he didn't even know that was going to happen. So then I was like, yeah, okay, cool. And then after they had the talk, he messages, Leo puts a live stream up saying, it's more fear-based, that like it's more about, they talked and it's more about what could happen. Because obviously like when it comes to health, Leo knows a lot more than John because he's a medical doctor. He's done bioengineering as well. So he did a bachelor's in bioengineering, and then he did, I don't know whether he did master's, but he did a medical degree afterwards. So it's like, yeah, he's definitely got a lot more knowledge than John has. So I think it's like more about fear of what could happen. It doesn't bother me like so much that he left, more so like that afterwards that he's been saying that we're like a cult, you know, that veganism is like a cult. That annoys me, because I'm like, his whole family, or like most of his side of his family, is vegan. So like his two brothers are vegan, and I'm pretty sure his parents are vegan or something like that. I could be wrong. But yeah, it's like, but referring to them as a cult, like, I think he didn't say that they're a cult. He just said that you're acting like a cult, which, you know, honestly, for people, anti-vegans, that they're just going to run with that, you know?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, looking at all the information and everything that you've said, and from what I've seen with Dr. Leo Venus, and I never really saw John Venus's channel. Wasn't necessarily, I had nothing against the guy, but I've never been a big fan of his channel. Really, I just knew who he was because I've heard about him and all that stuff. But I've been subscribed to Dr. Leo Venus, and I always watch his content because I love all that nutrition information stuff and all that information he puts out. I think is really good, and it's a positive reinforcement for veganism. Yeah. So I just find it extremely confusing that he would do such a thing. So I know he's getting bashed to hell. Like, a lot of people are like jumping down his throat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I understand why they are, because, I mean, if you're a vegan and you've been a vegan for a long time, I don't see why someone would go back. Just letting you guys know, I do see your comments. Actually, we've got a few comments here. Leo's one of the few doctors dedicated to nutritional studies. Also, props to Leo. I agree, Dr. Leo. So, which actually, I think this will be a nice little transition into the debate between Vegan Gains and Leo Venus, if that was a debate or discussion. Yeah. Did you actually see that debate by chance?
Which one? Sorry, Leo and...
Yeah, Dr. Leo Venus and Vegan Gains.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. And I was like, I missed the live, but not that they really pay attention to the comments anyway. But yeah, no, I did watch that. And then it was interesting because Michelle Lowe came on afterwards and was like, they like, we need to, what is it? They said, she was like, yeah, no, you're right. We need a strong message. We need it to be like, you know, very strong to convince the majority. I mean, I don't know all that much about, like, I don't know all that much about minority, like convincing the majority, convincing people. To me, like, I'm an influencer. I'm not a convincer. So I influence others. Like, I'm really, like, I guess it depends. Like, for me, when we're talking about effective activism, I think you have to pick up your own style. That's the best way, because if you don't have your own style, then you're not genuine, right? If you're copying someone else's style that's not quite you or not you at all, and you're trying to force that, like if I try to act like Joey Carbstrong or James Aspey or something, like obviously they're two different things, but even if I try to copy either one, that it just wouldn't work for me, because people would see that I just wasn't genuine. And I think that like people had their strengths as well. You know, like I guess I'm like, when it comes to like women's rights and stuff, I can be a lot like Joey Carbstrong. But when it comes to animal rights, I'm more of a just like an influencer and stuff. I like to give information nicely. Not to say that the others don't work. It's just, that's just what works for me, because I'm really good at like influencing others instead of like, you know, downright convincing them. But what would you say that your style was?
Well, my style, and people always compare me to this. I don't know why it is. I mean, I do know why it is. Some people, for some reason, have compared me to Vegan Gains. And I think it's funny when people say that. Actually, I don't take offense to it at all. I think it's funny. But I think people say that that's my style, like aggressive or something like that, because I throw a lot of facts. So especially on my professor videos and all that stuff. And even though my professor videos aren't always necessarily trying to promote veganism, I'm just showing scientific facts. Sometimes I'll put some ethics in there and all that stuff, but for some reason I get compared to that. But I think, actually, I agree with Michelle Lowe on what she's saying. And actually, which is actually consistent with Dr. Leo Venus, what he's trying to say. I think
they did a live stream together actually recently, Michelle Lowe and Leo, which is I just read some of the comments, but yeah, I have actually seen that one as well.
Yeah, and I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw it's like an hour long. But if I remember correctly, she's talking about Sergio, that philosopher guy who I can't remember his name, Sergio something Vici or something, and the whole point is you want to be persistent, you want to be persistent, consistent, and forceful, but polite at the same time. And I understand why she's saying that, because we as vegans, unfortunately, have our backs against the wall because
by the minority?
Right, exactly. We're the minority. And I hate to say that we're like some minority and that we have to carry this label and all this other stuff. And for some people, it's got such a negative stereotype. For some people, it's got a really negative stereotype.
A lot of minorities have, there's a lot of stereotypes out there. So we're not like the only ones. It's not like, to be gay, we used to have a stereotype and used to have a stigma. Mental illnesses have stigmas. There's a lot, like feminism has a stigma. Like everything that you fight for is going to have a stigma because you're going to have pushback. If you don't have pushback, then you're not then you don't need to fight for it, do you? Because otherwise everybody would just agree. So yeah, there's always going to be a stigma on things that people don't agree on.
Yeah, and it definitely shows with veganism. And I agree with Dr. Leo Venus's approach. Now, the way he's handling his brother and all that stuff, I don't feel it's my place to say anything because that's his brother. If my brother did something, except, let's put it this way, if my brother stopped being vegan or something like that, and I do have a brother, actually I haven't talked to him for years, but let's say my brother was vegan. I don't think he is vegan, but let's just say if he was vegan, or if I had, let's just say any family member that stopped being vegan, I wouldn't make it a public, and I don't think Leo Venus really did. I think he just talked to his brother, and that's about it.
No, he didn't. Right. The thing is, he didn't. He's actually trying, as you can see in his thing, he's trying to not talk about him too much. He doesn't because obviously he's his brother, he loves his brother, he doesn't want to bash him too much. But on the other hand, he as a vegan can't let his brother spread this misinformation.
Correct.
So he feels obligated to the vegan community to kind of correct his own brother, but without being making him look bad. But it's very tough.
He's in a tough position. Yeah, he's in an extremely tough position. I think he's handling it great, Dr. Leo Venus.
Well, my best friend actually was vegan before me. Mm-hmm. One of my best friends, and now she's not vegan anymore. And but it's really weird because she still is for animal rights and stuff, and it's just really bizarre that she's because I remember saying something about going to this is back when obviously a little bit before Corona, but now that Corona's here, it's even harder. But when we used to go out a lot, and we used to go I used to do a lot of animal rights activism, and I'd tell her about it, right? Because she's my best friend. And I remember she was living here, and she was like, "Oh, I've been an animal rights activist since I was a kid," and because she was one of those people that just recognized animal abuse kind of from a kid, from a kid's perspective, and not with me. I kind of just had to I just rolled with what everybody else was doing. So it's really weird to have a conversation with her about animal rights and be but you're eating meat though. It's you go on about factory farms, but you're eating meat from factory farms. And I honestly, it's it's hard because I don't want to turn around and be nasty to her. But on the other hand, she hasn't gone back to veganism. So it's kind of weird because it's maybe I should be more I don't know. It's hard. I don't know what I don't want to push her away, But like on the other hand, maybe making her feel bad might make her rethink it.
Right. I think there's a saying that goes something like, you want to save face, but you don't want to cut your nose off in the process, or something like that.
Yeah.
Meaning you don't want to, you want to be polite, but you want to get the message across, but you don't want to be too aggressive so much to the point where it pushes further away. And I completely understand that. So in regards to your friend there, how long was she vegan for? Since her childhood?
No. She only just discovered it was when she was 25. Yeah, I know it's a bit weird that she didn't discover it before, but she said like most of the time she's just eaten plant-based anyway, and that she doesn't care for, like, she didn't really care for meat, but she also said that like when she was a kid, if someone was to like say was to go bah or like make animal noises, like when she was eating meat, she would like stop eating it. And like I so felt like doing that when I see her eat meat, like just like make those animal noises, see if she like stops eating meat. But yeah, and then so
what?
Someone said, huh?
Did she get sick or something? Did she feel, is that what?
No, okay. Well, I don't want to go into too much of my friend's personal life online. Yeah. But she was in a relationship that was heavily influenced by the other person. And that's why that was her excuse for starting to eat meat. But obviously she broke up with him and she left him and she has no contact with him whatsoever. And I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And when she was living with me after she broke up with him, I was like, well, there's no animal products allowed in my house. That is a rule. So I make a few exceptions, but like most of the time, like I don't even want it in my fridge. So then they're like, okay, so she would just eat vegan and stuff here. But then when we'd go out, sometimes she'd order something that wasn't vegan. And it was weird because she was with me and I was like, but I'm ordering vegan. So it's not like she went with a friend that's a meat eater and then there was no vegan options or like only a crappy salad or something. I'm like, why is she doing this? And it's really frustrating. It's really frustrating because it's like she was going a really, really tough time at the time. And I didn't really want to turn around and make her feel bad about that as well. But it was like, it was like bothering me so hard. And now like, she's moved away and she's so much happier now. She doesn't have the stress. She doesn't have the stress as she had before. And she's walking like, and yet on her like social media accounts, I do see her like showing like meat and stuff. And I'm like, but I think I don't think she buys it. I think that she just eats it if she's offered. But I don't really know. I haven't really looked into it. I probably should. The 4-year-old vegan says it's difficult. And then there's an awkward joke from a friend, like the bacon thing. It's like, I mean, obviously she would never make the bacon joke or anything. Like she's full, like she thinks like a vegan. She still thinks like a vegan, but she doesn't eat like one. It's weird.
Actually kind of similar. I mean, I guess we could say kind of similar to like John Venus, right? I mean, because he's primarily plant-based and he doesn't want to
but he seems to have like at least some crappy reasons. Like he got afraid about his son and then things like that. Personally, yeah, and then, but like my friend, I don't know what her excuse is. I'm just like, why wouldn't you just go back to eating vegan? That's what you wanted. I don't know. I should probably just bring it up one time when I'm talking to her and just be like, I was just wondering, why aren't you vegan anymore? I'll just ask as like a nice question.
I got a question for you too. Well, for those who don't know, Slightly Crazy Vegan, or Emily, she's over in Australia. I'm all the way in the United States, North Carolina. Are there a lot of vegans over there in Australia?
It's very low. It's lower than over. Yeah, but on the other hand, like there's more people in America. But I think that even like the percentage is lower. So yeah, it is harder to get vegan. Like it is harder to get vegan options here. It really sucks. But there's other countries that are worse off. So, I mean, like the only thing that I can suggest if you live in Australia, and because I've met some people that have said, oh, I try to be vegan, but, you know, and I did it all on my own. And I was like, well, that's your issue. Because the thing is that you need to get like a support network, and you need like real friends. So like the easiest way, unless you live out in the country, the easiest way is if you, you know, connect with some of the Facebook groups, the vegan Facebook groups, or any vegan group online or whatever, like in your local area. Like, I've got ones that are even just based purely in Sydney, and then they, yeah, and then you just like meet up. Like they have like dinner nights, obviously not so much anymore, but they have nights where they go out for dinner. They have nights like, you know, and then you get to meet people. I've even had like hosted a few events myself, and I had all these Facebook friends, vegan Facebook friends I'd never met that lived in my area, in my local area. That's why I added them. And then I said, well, let's go out. Like, you know, I'm like, I made it, like there was a restaurant called Soul Burger. I don't know if you have that or not. Yeah, anyway, so it has Soul Burger, and that's like it was in Parramatta, and so I made like an event where I invited all my vegan friends to go out, and there was like, I think there was like 15 of us. It was like quite big. Yeah. And it was kind of nice because, you know, when people go out with meat eaters all the time and then they always feel like they're the burden, like it's good to have those like places where you feel like you're not that. Like I remember being with friends and I forgot that they were vegan, and we were doing whatever, and then they're like, oh, let's go get something to eat. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, here we go. And then they were like, oh, this is like a good vegan restaurant, let's go there. And I'm like, oh yeah, you guys are vegan. It's such a good feeling, like when you have that, because you have that support network. It's just such a good feeling. And then if you have, like, the thing is, no matter how much understanding your friends have, if they're not vegan, they don't really understand. Like they don't fully understand. I do have another best friend that's not vegan, but she understands me more than other people. But yeah, like all my best friends, except for like most of my girl best friends have all been like, they're either vegan, were vegan, or like tried it. So it's like they're kind of all switched on to that, which is still better than nothing. Like when you deal with like meat eaters that are like not anti-vegan but full just don't get it, it is nice to be around, like it is nicer to be around a vegan that, or like even a non-vegan that just understands it. It's just like, I know we make fun of like, oh, well, you know, if you understand veganism, then you should be vegan, but it is a relief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So do you think those people that are your friends and all that stuff, actually, I just wanted to throw this pointer out there. Here in North Carolina, there is like, I have yet to meet a vegan ever. Like, actually, I met one vegan. And actually here we have a few people. Look, we had someone here from Cloud Spirals is from Australia. So you have someone over there who's an Aussie. And then Pugman is from the USA. Where are you from?
Yeah, Pugman. Hey, Pugman.
Where are you from? And we have a 40-year-old vegan's from Canada. Cool. But I've met one vegan before. Now, I was at a bar watching. It was during the Super Bowl. And it was just some random person who just started talking. It was a lady, you know, years ago. And but that's it. That's like one person. So one thing I realized too, also in regards to veganism, because I've had a lot of these conversations, and I've had as you become educated on this in regards to the compassion and being logical in regards to the topics of veganism, and even in regards to the nutrition topics of it, people start to listen, because you start to like, it starts to resonate with them, right? And so, for example, with my family, for my mom, she took on real quick. My sister, I think, was a little bit, but she eventually got the picture. My girlfriend, it was no problem at all. But I've noticed, like, with people...
Goodbye, be vegan or goodbye. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
There was people at my... I've noticed two friends that I had at work. And I didn't necessarily like bring up the topic, but they would see my YouTube videos, right? And they'd be like, hey, you know, you do you, and I'm going to do me. And, you know, I'm going to be, it's cool that you're vegan, but, you know, don't judge me. And I'm like, I'm not judging you, dude. It's the question is like, dude, if you're looking at this stuff, right, and you're looking at these animals being tortured or whatever, factory farming, right? The general practices of factory farming, and if it bothers you, you realize it's not me, right? I want to tell them, I'm not doing that to you. I am showing you this information, and if it bothers you, right, if it bothers you, then maybe you should do something about it. Maybe you should look deeper into that and find out why it is bothering you. And that's one of the reasons why I went vegan, because I didn't want to be a part of that. You know, I looked at that crap and I was like, this shit's disgusting. I was like,
how did you become vegan? Like, what made you go vegan?
Me, it's a really corny story. Actually, I made a video on it. It was a little birdie. I've always had compassion for animals, and yet I was a meat eater, right? But I was just like, yeah, I knew about veganism, but I was like, oh, whatever, I don't care. I was like, I just never really thought about it. I never really put it into context. And what was sad about it is that I knew that I could easily be whole food plant-based and get all my nutrients and all that stuff. So I didn't have that whole protein argument or nothing like that, like lack of protein, lack of B12. I knew that you can get all the nutrients you need from a plant-based diet, but I was just never willing to face it. So one day there was like this little birdie outside of my house, and I saw this little birdie, right? And I was like, oh, hey, like little guy, you know, and it was like it looked all scared, you know, the little little bird, right? And so like I went inside and I tried to get a strawberry, because I don't know what birds eat, right? And I was like, here, eat the strawberry, right? And the birdie's just like looking at me, and it's scared, the poor little thing, right? And so it's like, all right, I'll do the strawberry here. Hopefully you'll be all right. And then I went back inside my house, and then like I couldn't get this bird out of my mind. This bird was seriously like that big. It was super small. It was like this, smaller than a golf ball. This little. Is
it a baby bird or just a small breed?
It looked like a baby bird that was about ready to fly. And so yeah, and it was I was throwing out my recyclables and I saw it. And I went back inside my house. I was like in there for like 20 minutes, and I come back outside because I wanted to check on my bird now. I'm like, I've like determined this is my bird now, right? And I go outside, and the bird's no longer there. So I'm like, I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if maybe it flew off or learned to fly or whatever. I don't know, but I got worried.
Attacked.
Right, but nonetheless, I started thinking about that stuff, and then later that night I was eating chicken, and I started thinking about the bird, and then I
really?
Yeah, and I felt like shit, and I couldn't really finish what I was eating, and then that forced me to go down like this huge rabbit hole. Of veganism, and then I bumped into a lot of Earthling Ed videos, and Earthling Ed was a huge inspiration for me, huge. And then I already knew, for the most part, the health part of everything. I needed the compassion part and the logical part, just for it to logically make sense, that if it's not necessary, then why are you doing it? And honestly, it was really Earthling Ed who helped me, like, mesh everything together. For me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, like, my vegan experience was, I first learned about vegan when I was 18. And it sounded really ridiculous to me. I understood vegetarianism, but then I was like, no animal products? That doesn't make any sense. And then I think I was one of those, what do they eat then kind of people. And then I think someone tried to argue with me, or someone tried to talk to me online about like how you didn't need meat to, like, that the human body wasn't meant to eat meat or whatever. I think this was the worst one to go by, because I was actually with this guy that was in med school, and he was like, and I was like, what is this guy talking about? And then my friend was like, he's trying to explain this, and then he was like, I'm going to argue with him, and then I just like let him argue for me. So it wasn't even me. I was just like, okay, cool. I love when other people argue for me, because that know more. That's why I'm doing a nutrition video soon, and I don't want to argue nutrition, so I got Dr. Leo Venus to send me some clips. So it's like, you do the nutrition part, and I just do the other part. But yeah, and then so basically I was like, okay, like I was like, all right, sweet, let's so that and I never really heard about anything again until I was 27, I think, I was 27. So I didn't even think about veganism ever again. It was just like, it was just some weird thing. And then when I was 27, I think I had a friend of mine that wasn't vegan. that just happened to say like he's looking into diet online and all these diets and everything and how it's better for the mind if you're on a good diet. And I was like, that is true. Less processed food is better. And then he was like, oh, you know, he goes, I looked into it and apparently like the best diet ever is like a whole foods plant-based diet. And I was like, oh, what's that? And they're like, oh, that's like, you know, blah, blah, like vegan. And then I don't think he even used the word vegan. I think he just said plant-based, like where you don't eat any animal products. And I was like, oh, and it kind of like flipped a switch in my mind, like, oh, that could be like really healthy. Okay. And then I think from that onwards, it's kind of like I was open to then veganism. So like, obviously I'd probably come across vegan stuff and not even interpreted it, right? But this is back in the day, like in Australia, veganism wasn't that like switched on, like it wasn't like it is now. Like I've only been vegan for 3.5 years, but I feel like everybody knows what vegan means, whereas like most people, whereas before they didn't. And I think that's because of all the animal rights activism like that had been going on in Australia, because it made the news, like, because it was so like, whoa, that it made the news. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's so bad, breaking into other people's faces. I'm like, okay, but at least it got them thinking about it, because before they didn't even know. Like they were just on the sidelines going yada, yada, yada. And then people were just like, what was that? I need to get to work. You know, they didn't give a fuck. But it's like now they're like, you know, it's like, oh no, it's so bad. Like obviously there's going to be pushback. But see, like our prime minister was like, oh, you know, these protesters, blah, blah. But he says that about any protest. And he also recently said, Scott Morrison, he also recently said that we had no slavery in Australia, which obviously the Aboriginals were like, are you serious? So then, and a lot of white people as well that aren't Aboriginal, such as myself, I just like, really, but see, when that statement come out, I'm just like, oh, more people gonna hate him. Good, because I want him voted out. So yeah, it's just like, oh, he just pissed off the Aboriginals. Well, he's probably not gonna make it.
I just wanted to ask this question real quick.
Yeah.
You've been vegan for 3.5 years, right? We have someone asking here. 3.5?
Yeah.
I've been vegan for almost 2 years. So, what's your opinion on civil disobedience? 40-year-old vegan wants to know, what's your opinion on civil disobedience? What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it depends if it's for a good cause or not. But I guess the whole idea is whether it's a good cause or not is the whole reason why they're being civil disobedience. Like, it's hard to say, hey, I guess it just depends if you agree with the message. But that's the whole point, is that like it's civil disobedience is things that they don't think is right. So
for example, like protesting, is that civil disobedience?
Oh yeah, definitely protesting, because the thing is like, if we didn't allow protesting, like, you know, we still would have had slavery, and women wouldn't have had their rights and all these things. So protesting is our way of like changing the system, because, you know, you can't use this. If the system is broken, how can you use it to fix it? You know, like, right. You can't fix the system without going outside of the system, you know.
Right. You have to shock the system. You have to do something. Yeah. Unfortunately, and even more so today, because everyone's attention span is so short. You know, we're so conditioned to move on very quickly. So you have to get their attention. If I just hold the sign, say, hey, you know, vegan is better, or, you know, it's cool, you know, I understand you're eating meat, but please go vegan. Nobody gives a, you know, that's not really going to get their attention.
It's only going to convince a very small amount of people, so.
Right. Well, what I'm saying, if I show a sign, and I notice that's why I agree with, 100% I agree with activists. When they show, like, some of these, like, brutal pictures and all that stuff, that's the reality, guys. That's what it is. But it gets their attention, you know, so I'm all for that. Now, the steps that are taken after that, I believe, are absolutely crucial on how to go about that. I don't think a person needs to be bashed. And by the way, I know that's not how you are. I'm just saying, a person doesn't need to be bashed, especially when they're asking questions, even though some of these questions can be really silly sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, like, protein.
It depends how open they are to it. Like if they're being condescending in the questions.
Right, and if they're being a smartass, that's one thing. But there are people that I've actually misinterpreted, where people have asked me questions, and I thought they were being a smartass, but they weren't. They were actually legitimately asking me a question because they didn't know. And then, you know, the key thing, I think, is just to try to keep it as cool as possible, even when someone is trying to be a smartass. Just try to keep it as cool as possible and provide the information, because after all, unfortunately, the appeal to the masses, if you will, the appeal to popularity does have an effect on people, and the appeal to authority. And as the minorities, as vegans being the minorities, the people aren't going to listen to us. They don't have to listen to us, but they have to listen to the law. And if someone shames them, for example, like in ancient Greece, right? Ancient Greek, it was okay to rape boys or have a relationship with little boys. You would never, back in the day, or I'm sure someone did back in the day, would actually say, hey, it's bad to rape little boys. Today we would, right?
Yeah.
Today we would shame the hell out of someone who did something like that. But back then, exactly. If you were trying to change these people, you would, if you said, hey, you know, what the hell's wrong with you for raping little boys, even though we know, like, hands down, that's freaking sick, right? It probably wouldn't be the most effective way of getting people to change if you started insulting people and started harassing them and all that stuff. I think first you need to grab their attention, and then once you've got their attention, then the educational process begins. My dog just barked. But
someone, I think we have someone that has a few concerns about veganism that we can sort up. So Taylor Marshall says, I have a hard time believing veganism isn't an experiment. Doesn't work for a lot of people, myself included. I don't know about doesn't work for a lot of people, because a lot of people who have tried it, it's been perfectly fine on them. So I think there's a few people where it hasn't worked for them because of, like, I think preconditional gut health and stuff, like pre-existing gut problems.
Right.
I've heard
if you have a compromised gut microbiome, and you actually try to go plant-based, it can disrupt everything in there. But to say that when a person says that vegan or a plant-based diet doesn't work for you is essentially saying that you're going against human anatomy, is the way I see it, or human physiology. You're going against human physiology, because any human who eats animal products is going to have a rise in certain factors or certain things in your body, like your cholesterol levels, things of that matter, in your blood panel that is not going to be good for you. That being animal products. People with IBS. I guess I don't know if he has IBS. Well, yeah, if you got gut issues, that could just be a compromised gut issue. That's something that would have to be that I would recommend. Not me, but I'm just saying. Best talk to your doctor and a gastroenterologist if you've got a compromised gut biome. But that's not something, you know.
I have heard about a lot of, like, carnivores that have that do go towards the carnivore diet just because they have underlying gut conditions. Like, that's usually tend towards they go to, because any fiber makes them, like, really, like, pain, like, is really painful. I mean, obviously we're both not doctors, so we can't really say, but, like, yeah, like, just follow more try to find out more information about things like that. And the thing is that you got to look towards, like, that veganism isn't just about what you eat. It's about what you wear and what you what events you support. So, like, when you say, oh, veganism isn't for everyone, like, as in because of the health reasons, you're like, okay, well, let's just put aside the diet. And, like, there's so many other things that someone can follow, like so many things, like not supporting horse racing, not supporting circuses, not wearing fur, leather. Like, that's not going to affect your health. So there's so many things. I think, like, even with my vegan friend, she would never, she would never go to a fucking zoo. Like, she was like, no, I would not go to a zoo. I'm like, you eat meat, but you would never go to a zoo. Okay, like, I'm more okay with it than she is. Like, it's weird. But yeah, she was like, no, I'm not going to support this. And she doesn't buy anything with things in it. Like, the stuff she buys is all vegan. So yeah, like, you can buy, like, I mean, obviously I think that's a guy, but, like, well, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, but yeah, if you buy any makeup or like hair products or clothes, you can still be with like you can still follow veganism in that regard. So say it's funny how Taylor Marshall says people with IBS. Okay, let me just touch on that on a personal thing. I actually suffered from IBS from 18. And it wasn't until I went vegan that I actually got rid of my IBS. Like, it's weird because when I went to the doctor, he said you need to eat more fiber, and that's exactly what a plant-based diet is full of. So it's weird that you say, well, if you have IBS, then you can't be on a plant-based diet. You're like, no, it's the opposite. It's fine now. Like, the only time that I ever get constipated is when I'm dehydrated. That's the only ever time, because all my other foods are just full of fiber. Even the processed food is full of fiber. So even when I eat processed foods and stuff, as long as I drink lots of water, I won't get constipated. Whereas when I was a meat eater, it's funny how they say, oh, you need to be on supplements as a vegan. And I'm like, well, when I was a meat eater, I was on fiber supplements. I actually took fiber supplements. So it's so weird because I had IBS, but obviously when I was eating like nothing but like fruits, vegetables, and like all these fibrous foods, I didn't need it anymore. So I got to make sure that I either eat a lot of fruit or that I got to eat a lot of fruit and salads, or I need to drink a lot of water, either or, just to make sure that I don't get that problem anymore. So it's so weird when people say, oh, but people with IBS, I'm like, I would never think to eat a meat-based diet if I had IBS. Like, I hate the idea of feeling constipated. Like, it's just so unsexy. I hate it.
Taylor Marshall, yeah, I'm seeing people are contributing to the conversation. Someone like this, actually, I understand someone like this, because I think a person like this, Taylor Marshall, is actually just trying to find answers. And I'm going to tell you right now, Taylor Marshall, you're watching, you're not going to find your answers.
You talk to him. I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to talk to everyone here. Look, Taylor, I'm sure you're watching this, man. I would recommend, again, that you need to talk to 3 specialists. You need to talk to a nutritionist, you need to talk to a doctor, a regular doctor, and I would recommend that you talk to a gastroenterologist if there is actually something messed up with your gut microbiome, and get a full blood panel, make sure that everything is good. Paul Saladino talks about carnivore diet for IBS. Yeah, Paul Saladino is a fucking idiot, okay? And I mean that in the most respectful manner. I really can't say anything else about Paul Saladino. I can't stand that guy because he is spreading so much misinformation that it's almost sickening, that guy. I would not take nutritional advice from Paul Saladino. I would recommend that you go talk to a nutritionist, go talk to a doctor, and go talk to a gastroenterologist. Paul Saladino is not your doctor. Okay, so that's what I would recommend that you go do. These people, you guys got to understand, all right? Do not take your information from YouTubers. And I've said this on my own channel. Look at the science. And once you've looked at the science, go talk to a professional. Nobody on YouTube here is a professional. Even the ones that are professionals, actually, like someone like Dr. Greger, Dr. McDougall, these plant-based doctors, I'm sure they would even recommend that you go talk to a professional. So before you go listening to some of these guys and all these experts trying to sell you some fucking stupid book like Paul Saladino is doing, please don't do that. Go talk to a professional. Go get yourself checked out before you do any of this crap. Hold on, let's see. I've seen a couple of gastro doctors. I saw a vegan doctor. They put me on PPI meds. They didn't help me. On wait list for a laparoscopy, but COVID has pushed it back. Gotcha. Well, just work with them, though. Please do not take advice from someone like Paul Saladino. He said that he was going to take advice. And
Michelle Lowe actually told me that Paul Saladino is now incorporating carbs into his diet. I tried to find it last night, but I couldn't. I'm going to ask Michelle, like, can you send me some references? Because for my video that's going to come out, doing a video soon. But yeah.
So I have another question, actually, for you and anyone else in the comment sections here. Thanks for everyone participating in this. I really appreciate it. This is, like I said, my first live stream. But Emily, or Slightly Crazy Vegan, what is your take on the future of veganism? Do you think you will see a vegan world before you die?
I don't know if I'll see a vegan world, but I definitely see huge difference. I'm not 100% sure. I've heard a lot about because the environment is unsustainable. Like scientists have predicted that we're gonna run out of fish by 2048, which is in the lifetime. It's not even that far away. It's only like 48, so 28 years away. So like, yeah, that's pretty scary to think. And it's funny how like there's all these protesters. Well, there was all these protests about, environment and everything, and everybody's like, oh, this is so inconvenient. And I'm like, imagine how inconvenient it's gonna be when like, we don't have any fish anymore, and it's like, because once there's no fish, it's pretty much like everything starts to collapse in on itself. So it's like, yeah. They actually cured, like there was this forest or something, and it wasn't very lively, and they introduced like 4 wolves into, it was in America, they introduced 4 wolves into the wild, and they actually made it like come alive again, because I think it's about balance. Like you've got to have like natural predators and all that stuff in order to like make it sustainable. Something like that. Oh, actually, what's funny? But it was on Facebook, and you know how you just come up, like it advertises like videos and stuff for you? Yeah. Well, there was this document, like there was this Discovery Channel type of video, and it was this crocodile, and it was eating, it was trying to eat a turtle. Obviously the turtle's like really, like the turtle shell's really strong, so it's really, really hard, right? Yeah. And and this is not on a vegan group or anything. And there was so many people, and I mean, I doubt that they're vegan, but there was so many people in the comments, and they're saying, why are you filming this? Why don't you save the turtle? Like, why don't you save the turtle instead of filming this? Blah, 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 blah. And all I was thinking was, well, the crocodile has to eat. So if you take the food away from it, then the crocodile's going to die. So, and I just thought it was really funny that it's like they're probably eating meat, and they're going, oh, why don't you save the turtle? And you're like, well, why didn't you save that animal that you're eating? It's just,
right, exactly.
It's like we have that thing.
Well, some people actually had, Pugman says that there will be no vegan world, but there will be lab-grown meat. Just throwing that out there. And there's going to be a plant-based foods, the majority in 20 years. The 40-year-old vegan is saying that. And I'm going to give you my opinion. So you don't think there will be?
I'm not sure. I'm hoping. Okay. I think it's the next thing that's going to change. But I mean, I definitely if you look over the last 3 years of me being vegan, I've noticed that like the year that I went vegan, obviously I didn't have any reference to, but the second year that I went vegan, I noticed that it had doubled from the first year. I'm like, I don't know whether it was just, I was thinking, I don't know whether it's just the fact that I'm switched on more to veganism now, but it seems like really popular. Whereas like then on the third year, it seemed like even more popular, like people actually talking about it and everything. And even though there's like bad, like they're saying bad things, the fact that they're talking about it means that it's like there's something like changing, there's something moving. And the thing is that people don't like change. Like if you think about it, right, if you were to say, oh, if there's backlash, then it's not going to change. Well, think about Facebook, right? You know how we've got timeline Facebook? Yeah. Remember what it was like before they got the timeline?
I don't know. I really don't remember. I'm not much on Facebook, but okay. But
no, that's fine. But I remember there was people on there that said, I'm not switching to timeline. It's so shit. I'm not changing. Yeah. I'm having it the interface that I like. I like this way, so I'm not going to change. I'm not going to update, because you had to update it to be a timeline. So like, I'm not going to update. Please, people don't update because it's shit. Blah 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 blah. Like people were kicking a fuss over the layout of Facebook, like the layout at Facebook. It's ridiculous. So I was like, they're all like getting upset over this and saying, no, we're not going to change. And of course, now when you ask someone, not so much you because you're older, but like a younger person, they don't even know what the old one was. It was like, What? And if you ask an older person about like, how do you feel about Facebook? They're like, oh yeah, it's fine. Yeah. Like no one cares about it anymore. It's like it's changed. No one's like, I reckon that's the same with like going to be vegan. Like people complain about certain things now, but like in the future they just won't because it'll just become normal.
You think it's just going to ease in? Yeah, I think veganism, I've said this on my channel too a few times. I think in the next 30 or 40 years, I don't think we're going to see a complete vegan world because I think that's impossible. Yeah. But I think the majority of the world is going to be plant-based just because of all the effort and all the information that is out there. It's just so overwhelming that how can't the world go plant-based is the way I see it, because it's too it's too costly to raise animals. It's too resource intensive
as well.
What was that?
And resources as well. It's funny, actually, when I left the vegan bubble, when I say vegan bubble as in like, having everybody that supports veganism, when I'm doing research into the carnivore diet, about the ethics and stuff behind it, I talked to some carnivores and they're like, oh yeah, like, I mean, if you listen to Frank Tufano, okay, he says like, oh, the shit, like the elites, they want to push veganism to like, to try to kill people off or whatever, like he says. And it's funny because it's like, okay, and then other carnivores are saying, yeah, like all the media want like plant-based, and I'm thinking, wow, I feel the opposite. But like when you look at it from their perspective, they feel like meat is being shoved out. So it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the only thing that's shoving meat out is science. Because let me tell you that they're marketing the fuck out of meat. I mean, and cheese and all that stuff. Just turn on, if you've got basic cable TV, I mean, I guarantee, well, I don't either, but like whenever I do.
In America, you guys have cable TV. In Australia, we have free to air. And then we could also have like cable TV as well. But I think it's been taken over by Netflix and that. So.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, the streaming.
I never watch free to air TV because it's boring, and I don't have the connection to the aerial, so I just don't bother. And I just watch YouTube and Netflix and Stan and like anything like that online.
Yeah, me too. But well, here, commercial TV, it's like you have like commercials like every 15 minutes on whatever program, or every 12 minutes or something like that. And there's like 5 minutes worth of commercials, and I guarantee you. I
remember as a child,
Yeah, I'm sure. But like within those 5 minutes, I mean, you're gonna see, and they're still kicking. I mean, all sorts of commercials, animal-based commercials, fast food, a lot of that stuff. So I mean, I don't know where these carnivores are getting that crap. The science is pushing it out because that's just the reality that eating animal flesh.
And the environment as well.
What was that?
In the environment as well.
Of course, yeah, in the environment. Of course, it's devastating to the environment. I mean, it's not just veganism or a plant-based diet that would help the environment. There's a lot of factors that go into that, but it's a big factor, and it's the simplest thing that people can do to have the biggest impact individually in regards to the environment if they just went vegan or plant-based or whatever,
Yeah, actually, the 40-year-old vegan said Frank's introduced fruit into his diet now. I'm planning to make a video about that actually. Frank is won't be any will no longer be carnivore as of next year because he's introducing fruit because he has iron overload issues, and he was saying something about having honey and lean meats to try and get rid of the iron. You know what? He donates blood just to get rid of the iron. Like he has to donate blood, like just to get rid of it. And that's the thing, the great thing, like, this is the thing as well, like that bothers me about the vegan community is that when John Venus left, everybody was like up arms about it and making lots of videos, like vegans and non-vegans. But then when like Frank fails the diet, like he's had all these issues and stuff, there's not a lot of videos made about it. And the thing is that to an outside person looking in on on veganism and carnivore and maybe looking into some diets and stuff, they're going to see all these things like, oh, this person left veganism, the vegan diet isn't good, and then they're going to see you know, and then they're going to see, like, they're not going to see all these carnivores that have failed on this diet, because whenever a carnivore fails, it's just like white noise, like no one cares, you know, and it's really frustrating. And I have actually talked to Vegan Gains about this. I said, you know, we go on, like, you've made like so many videos about John Venus and everything not being vegan, and I understand, but then like when a carnivore fails the diet, we really need to make it known that, okay, he failed the diet and this is why, you know, because like every time someone fails a different diet, it needs to be just as big so that people can see, okay, this diet failed. And, you know, like, not just like see all these vegans diet like fail. And carnivores are in denial about it too, because I was like, how do you guys feel about Frank Tufano leaving the carnivore diet? And they're like, oh, well, that diet just didn't suit him. Or like, oh yeah, but blah 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 blah, right? And then they go on in the same thread, they go, oh, you should be looking at all the vegans that have left the diet. And I was like, wait, but then shouldn't I look at it as, you know, the vegan, like, you know, maybe the vegan diet just wasn't good for them? But no, it's not the vegan diet wasn't good for them. If they're on the carnivore diet, if someone fails the carnivore diet, oh, the carnivore diet just didn't work for them. But if someone fails the vegan diet, it's like, oh, the plant-based diet, it's like, oh, see, that just shows anti-nutrients. It's so ridiculous. The amount of shit that I've listened to, I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm dumb. Like, I'm dumb just listening to this stuff. Like, they're all like, no, you know, it's anti-nutrients, and, you know, you know, it goes, oh, you can't, like, even though fruits and vegetables have, you know, all these nutrients and stuff, it's what the body can absorb, and the body can't absorb, like, the body can't absorb protein, or a certain amount of protein from, like, can only absorb a certain amount of protein from plants. And I'm just like, well, I'm perfectly fine. And you know, I said, well, that, like, because they show like a skinny person and they go, see, that person's malnourished and they're dying, they're vegan, they're going to die. And I said, that's stupid. That is the most stupidest evidence I've ever seen, right? And I had this argument, and I said most vegans don't look like that. Right? And they go, oh, yes, they do. And they go, oh, I bet you that she'll probably put up like one bodybuilder in, like, the one vegan bodybuilder that has muscles. Like, as in, like, the only fucking vegan bodybuilder out there. And I was like, so I put up a picture of myself, like a nice one, right? And I said, what about this body? You know, and then they actually did say that I was hot. So I was like, oh, that's nice. And they're like, yeah, it's like I said, it's like the one in the million. And then I said to him, oh, thank you, at least. And then he said, oh, you actually still have a good female body, but, you know, I think he said, like, over time you won't, or whatever. He goes, give it another 3 years and you'll be chowing down steak. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then, so I was like, okay, well, and then I was like, well, and I showed, like, Dr. Leo Venus, because I only had Dr. Leo Venus's, like, photo on my phone. So I was like, oh, I'll just use his. So I posted up here, and then they were like, see, the only guy. And apparently he's the only vegan that has muscles. I'm like, are you serious? Like, are you serious? Like, you are literally stupid, like, to think that argument is going to work on me. I'm like, you know, maybe some people who have no idea, dumbasses, that would work on them, but not on me. I've met plenty of guys that are vegan that are muscly. Like, I've met them in person. So it's like, that's not going to convince me, you know. And
vegans too.
Yeah.
There's a vegan, God, I can't remember his name. Red Pill Vegan was just talking about him. I'm subscribed to the guy. I can't remember his name to save my life, but some really, really strong vegans as well too. That's a huge misconception that goes in line with what you're saying there, that somehow the bioavailability of protein and all these other nutrients are going to eventually lead to these nutritional deficiencies. And, you know, within 3 years, yeah, you're going to be eating some steak or some pork fat or whatever, some goat testicles as they like to eat, or whatever, whatever nasty shit they can come up with. It's just ridiculous. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you go into those with those guys and talk to them. I can't do it. It's oh god, it's hard.
Seriously, I have to like stay away, but I have actually taken some screenshots of some of the ridiculous claims that they have said. That maybe.
Yeah, some of them.
Yes.
I would probably have to admit myself to like a psychologist first. So before you go.
I gotta tell you, it's so funny. I need to do a video. Maybe you can do a video. Like, honestly, some of this stuff I don't really want to cover. Like, there's so much shit to cover. I should probably just send it to you and other YouTubers. And like, I did all this research and I made this video, but you can have all this other info. Okay. So I kept seeing memes on the carnivore diet about vegans being, about tuna fuckers, right? Am I right to say the F word?
I don't know. I don't care. You can curse all you want on my channel.
Okay.
Fuck.
I know, but like you're gonna advertise the phone because I know that FX it.
I don't give a. I can care less. Okay. It's all good. Curse all you want. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, so it's called tuna fuckers, right? There's this thing called and I'm like, and it was always referring to the vegan as a tuna fucker, and I was like, I don't get it at all. I don't get how a vegan is a tuna fucker, like at all. I'm like, we don't even eat tuna. I didn't get it at all. So I said, what does this tuna fucker thing mean? Right? And then he said, and I seriously think this guy is like not very bright at all. Hang on. I need to get rid of this. Okay, so he said, many things. Typically, vegans can't process human relations, so they prefer to have relations with animals. It's like, where the hell did you get that? So caring about animals. Hang on. So you can't care for animals unless you can't socialize with humans. Okay. So you can't have any compassion towards animals if you're not antisocial. Like, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. These people, you've made it to YouTube when you get a thumbs down. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. The 40-year-old vegan just says, you've made it as a YouTuber when you get a thumbs down. Yeah, tell me about it. Oh my god. Side note in regards to like crazy people. I mean, but it's along the lines of this whole carnivore stuff. God, man. I've got one video that just got blasted to shit by a group of nut huggers. This snake diet guy. Do you know who that is? No idea who this guy is? It's this guy. I mean, he's trying to help people. He's trying to help people lose weight, but he calls people fatty and all this shit. Oh, my Lord. I made him a professor. So, because he is a professor. But nonetheless, he deserved the award. And this guy, he promotes all sorts of crazy shit. And he eats like he ate like 2 pounds of raw bacon or some shit like that. Or 2.2 pounds, a kilogram of raw bacon and all this stuff. And all these nut huggers of this snake diet guy were just like rating the comment sections of the video, downvoted the fuck out of that video, which is, I understand, hey man, everyone has their opinion, you can downvote all my videos.
No, that's good though, because the thing is that whether you upvote or downvote, it actually just goes into the algorithm, so you're more likely to get more views.
Yeah, either way, like, it's there for a reason. Everyone has the right to express their opinion. I'm not against that. But
Red Pill Vision's in the house.
Yeah, there he is. What's up, Joe? Hey. What's going on, man? Yeah. He's a good dude. He's awesome. Look, let me tell you guys something. I'm sure everyone here probably is already subscribed to Red Pill Vegan. If you're not subscribed to Red Pill Vegan, you and I cannot be friends. Emily, if you haven't, please subscribe to him. Yeah, the dude's awesome, man. He's such a good guy. He's
but I don't know. I'll check him out. Okay, let's get back to this tuna fucker thing because it's really interesting. Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
So if you've just tuned in, we're talking about carnivores calling vegans tuna fuckers, and I asked what the hell this means. He said many things. Typically, vegans can't process human relations, so they prefer to have relations with animals, things that operate at their childish level of intellect. Naturally, the largest challenge for a piss-soaked, brain-addled vegan is aquatic sex. It's both challenging and delightful. Hence, a vegan would rather hammercock a tuna than a person. I'm like, what the hell? I said, that makes no sense at all. And he's like, makes perfect sense to to the non-drugged adult. As in, he was calling me. He was saying that does that mean that he's saying that I'm on drugs?
I guess. It sounds like it.
Yeah, and then I was like, hang on. Oh yeah, no, that was his thing. But he did go on and on about it, but I didn't take the screenshots. I can go back and take all these screenshots because seriously, it's like a gold mine. This is in so in the carnivore group on Facebook, they're fairly decent because they're not saying much about veganism. They're just talking about carnivore diet, which is fine. I'm not going to push any vegan agenda thing because it's not my place. It's their safe space to talk about it. But it is good to, but I will be making a status probably soon when I plan to do more like research. But just say, hey, just wondering about the ethical side, because I'm just interested in the ethical side, not the nutrition side of the carnivore diet. So yeah, but there's this another group on Facebook. It's called, and you guys can join it if you like, it's called Carnivores versus Vegans. So it's made for like vegans and carnivores to kind of like duke it out. But obviously it's completely run by carnivores and it's like majority of carnivores. So like there's not a lot of vegans in there. It would be good to get the vegans in there to like actually have real like, because now it feels like I might be like the only vegan on the post. And I'm like, well, this is not really a fair fight because it's not like, you know. Anyway, and I said, I can't remember what they said, but they were like, I was like, they said something, they say stuff like, you're getting robbed of your early years. For being vegan, I'm getting robbed for that. And I'm like...
Yeah. I would love to see the science on that. You know?
Yeah, I know. And the science that they put up on it is just like articles and stupid shit like that. But they even admit that the science is like against them and that the science is all wrong because it's all like, you know how we say that like when science come up about diet like dairy being good or meat being healthy or whatever like that, then we say, oh, that's shit science because look who funded it. Well, they're kind of like that. They're like, oh, you know, the sugar industry funded that. And like, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't see how the sugar industry would need to pull down the meat industry. Like,
right. The problem with that, with evidence, is that people, certain people don't know how to understand or interpret the evidence, especially when it comes to population-based evidence, because population-based evidence, it's not trash, but a lot of people want to throw it away, especially a lot of these meat eaters. But it has to be conducted a certain way, and it's the most easiest form of science that can be easily manipulated, I've noticed, where they always find like no correlation with like dairy or no correlation with eating X amount of red meat. But if you look at the details and if you understand how to read these type of studies, you'll see where it's flawed, whether it's funded by industry or not. And I've actually gotten into like debates with people like about this in the comment sections of my video, actually just recently on the professor video. And then I've challenged people to a bunch of debates about this. And it's funny, whenever you say a debate or a discussion, they ghost, they disappear. So that's always interesting.
So she said, I think it's a girl. So I know vegan who were I know vegans who were vegan for 20 years and everything collapsed. So I don't really know what that means. Do you support local regenerative agriculture or just the run-of-the-mill vegan who thinks field deaths, dead soil, and complete ecosystem annihilation is okay to grow your inferior diet not fit for the cows I eat? I don't really get it. It's like they talk nonsense. And I was like, well, there is regenerative agriculture, but it's very small. So it just depends on what what the availabilities are to it, like how available it's like organic versus non-organic, like how available is organic. See, when I go to the supermarket, I never buy organic because in Australia, it's always wrapped with plastic. And I was like, why is all the organic food wrapped in plastic? So I'm like, well, I think that plastic is worse for the environment than buying non-organic. and also non-organic is cheaper. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to buy non-organic. But if I was to buy organic, I would probably buy it from a small company and get it delivered. That's what I used to have. My friend used to have a company. I used to order from her. So I'm thinking about doing that again. But I am looking into like organic versus non-organic, the ethical side, because obviously my channel is about the ethics side. So whenever I look into something, the carnivore diet, it's the ethical side of the carnivore diet. Or if I look into organic versus non-organic, I'm looking at the ethical side, because obviously organic would be ethically better because it would curb the decline in insects and bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know how there's a decline in insects, right?
Organic is much safer. It's much better for the environment and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, because a lot of people, they cover like, is organic better for you, and is it healthier for you? And I'm like, okay, well, set aside that. How about if we just look at the ethical side? I see a lot of videos about the ethical side of organic, so yeah, and it just depends on what you're about. Anyway, I asked a friend. I said to them, why is organic food always wrapped in plastic? And she said that it's because the supermarkets spray them. And I was like, spray the fruits and vegetables. And I was like, no, I've worked at the supermarket. I've even worked in fresh produce like 20 years ago or something. No, not 20. Sorry, 10 years ago. Sorry. It was probably exactly 10 years ago because I'm 31 and I think I was working at 20 or something. Yeah. And then she said, no, they do it at nighttime, like overnight. And I was like, oh, okay. So I want to look into that. I just haven't done that yet, but I want to look into that because I think that would be something really interesting. That would make sense to why they always wrap the organic fresh produce in plastic.
Yeah, I think that's something that something that needs to be considered. Of course, the environment is always very important, and then also just other beings as well too. I know we want to discount bugs and all that stuff, but I think they are beings as well too. I mean, we're trying to decrease the footprint as much as possible, and it's always something that needs to be considered. So,
how do you feel being duped by an idiot? What does he mean?
Oh, yeah, HS, I know who HS is. Nah, you were quite blurry, low res. Yeah, man. I think he's talking about in regards to the other person, Taylor Marshall, I think. They're going, it looks like they're going back and forth. I haven't really, yeah.
I was like, well, yeah, you got to tag the person in it. So much better, because then we know.
Yeah. The max to go. Yeah, dude, I have to figure out what's going on with the resolution. I apologize. I don't want to mess with it now because I'm afraid if I mess with the resolution on my video right now, I'm afraid it's going to like jack something up.
Oh my God, Taylor Marshall says, I'll take personal anecdotes over science when all the science is wrong, lol.
Okay, Marshall, never mind. Taylor, dude, you see, I can't help you if you're going to have that type of mindset, dude.
No, but the thing is that there's so, like, okay, watch Game Changers then. Because there is science in it, but you can just ignore that if you really want to. But they have quite a few personal anecdotes in there, like thrown in there as well. There's a lot of vegan athletes, so you can, like, if you believe in personal anecdotes, then look in personal anecdotes of successful vegans. You know, because there is unsuccessful carnivores. Hello, Frank Tufano, like he just, huh?
No, I was going to ask you, did you see the debate between James Wilkes and Chris Kresser on Joe Rogan?
No, someone pointed that out in the Vegan Gamers Discord chat, and I was like, oh, I don't feel like getting triggered today.
Yeah, it was, just a quick summary. He got embarrassed, Chris Kresser. And, you know, James Wilkes is the...
Oh, yes, no. Was that a while ago?
Yeah, it was a few months ago.
Oh, yeah, no, there was a recent one on Joe Rogan, so that's what I was thinking. No, I have seen some of it, but yeah, no, I did see that he kind of didn't really go so well.
Well, James Wilkes embarrassed Chris Kresser. James, you know, the Game Changers producer, he completely embarrassed him and made Chris Kresser look like a professor. He is a professor. I made him a professor in my channel.
Game Changers is biased too. Most of the athletes got injured, went back to eating meat. I don't think that's true.
I think he's talking about.
Who the hell says, "Oh, they went back to eating meat"? You're like, you can't just say it and it be true. Like they didn't.
Some
so
of them,
it makes no sense. And every athlete gets injured. Like you can't just base that like, oh, they got injured. Oh, every athlete gets injured.
Right. They had that one vegan athlete who's that crazy guy who was drinking his own piss? What was that kid's name?
Oh yeah, but he turned it down. He wasn't in it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I know some carnivores that also, not carnivores, but like I know some meat eaters who also drink their own piss. So
genius. Outstanding.
I'm just saying, like, it's not just a vegan, like, it's not just for people who are on plant-based. Like, it's not a vegan thing. I don't drink my own piss. I know most vegans don't drink their own piss. There's only, like, a small number and, like, a small number of people that do that. But there are also meat eaters that do it as well. So it's just, like, an own separate thing. Like, it's completely separate to veganism.
Absolutely. Tim Sheaf.
Yeah.
That's his name. That's his name. That guy. I always forget his name. But anyways, so we've been, hey, Emily, just to give you a heads up, we've been live streaming now for about an hour and 15 minutes. I have to wrap this up. Now I'm going to go off a little bit off a topic here, and not going so much onto veganism, but I just wanted to get your thoughts real quick on a topic that I've been covering recently, actually, and a lot of people have been talking about it, and they just want to keep this train rolling. But what are your thoughts in regards to the whole fake weight scandal with AthleanX? I'm sure you've heard of it because vegan gains and all that stuff. You know, now you know who AthleanX is and him using fake weights. Do you think it's okay? Do you think it's all right? Do you think it was wrong? What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I definitely don't think that it is okay to use fake weights. Like, unless it's like Vegan Gains pointed out, like a photo shoot is a bit different because everybody knows like a photo shoot is just something like captured in the moment. But when people are showing like examples of it, they really should be like using a lightweight anyway. They don't need, like, if you're showing technique, you don't need to be lifting heaps of weight. But I think that it's very deceiving for people who might look up to him, people who might be encouraged to buy his stuff, thinking that his stuff is is effective because of his results, right? So they look at it and they go, oh, he's lifting whatever, how much he's lifting, right? And it's very deceiving with how, like, maybe how big he is, and then to know, like, and then to find out that he doesn't really, like, he's not able to actually lift that much. And the thing is that just because he can't lift that much doesn't mean that his advice is bad. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't mean that his advice is bad just because you can't lift all that much. But so there's really no reason, like, for him to show except for just to kind of prove that he's better than he really is. And I definitely think it's a deceitful thing, because there is things in, like, like airbrushing and stuff for models even. So, like, there's a lot of Instagram people or like Instagram influencers, like, or like models and stuff that are now showing, like, this is before, this is after. Like, there's a lot of things where it's like, this is like, when they're leaning over like this, you can see, like, that they've got a bit of tummy, but if they're leaning back like this, then it flattens it out. And the thing is that if you always show the best side of yourself, mainly women, but also men, put this unrealistic expectation. And I think that using fake weights is very similar. It's putting unrealistic expectations on it. Like, he looks like, look how big he is. And then it's like, but he can lift this much, or how come I look around the same as him? How come I don't? Maybe I need to buy his stuff in order to see what he does. And then it's like, okay, well, then that's deceiving because you're basing it off what they think you can lift, not actually about whether they think the advice is good or not. Yeah. So yeah, definitely something that is wrong in my books. But yeah.
I'm glad that we see eye to eye on that. So, do you plans for the slickster? That's me. Yeah, somebody called me the slickster. I see you here. Yeah, they call me that when I slick my hair back. But anyways, that always makes me laugh.
Slickster? You always say that at the beginning, like slickster. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I say it all the time. I love that shit. But I love when people talk shit. But I know it's all in good fun. Let me ask you this: do you think the guy's on steroids or any type of? This is just your opinion. And by the way, this is not facts. If anybody thinks we're facts, I just want to know. I want an outside opinion for people who aren't necessarily involved in the game of gains and lifting weights and all that good stuff. Emily, what do you think? If you saw someone like Jeff Cavalier, you're looking at Jeff Cavalier, and you're like, and someone is like, is he on steroids or not? And you have to answer, otherwise, like they're gonna throw you into like the middle of the ocean. It's like life or death. You have to make a split decision. What do you think? Is he on steroids? Yes or no?
I think if he was on steroids, then he wouldn't need to use fake weights.
What was that?
If he was on steroids, then he wouldn't need to use fake weights.
Okay. So no, you don't?
Oh, he looks natural to me, but I honestly have no idea about like steroids or anything like that. I've never touched steroids. I've never seen steroids like is in like those types of steroids in like I've never actually seen them in real life. Like if someone showed me a thing of steroids, like I probably wouldn't even recognize. I'd be like, oh, is that insulin or some shit? Like I wouldn't know.
So you have no idea?
I don't have anything like, I mean, if I saw someone that was like massive, right, and they're really veiny, then I think like I've learned enough to know, okay, they're probably on steroids. You know, like Arnold Schwarzenegger and all that, like all those people. But apart from that, I'm like so useless.
Well, that's fine. Your opinion counts. I just wanted to know if you could weigh in on that. So, anyways, I think that's going to be a good stopping point for now, because I've actually got to take care of a few things. We've been going at it. We've been talking now for about an hour and 21 minutes. Is there any concluding statements, anything that you have to say?
Well, I think the point of our live stream was originally because you wanted to discuss vegan gains as you wanted to discuss vegan. I mean, I think we had a better discussion before. Like we actually made a discussion before, but then it fucked up and didn't record properly. So it's kind of hard to do the second round. I think we got a lot off topic. But when you were the original reason why you wanted to talk to me was because of the whole vegan gains thing, and you wanted to talk to him.
Right. Well, actually, the reason why I wanted to talk to Vegan Gains was to discuss or debate or whatever. I don't care what you call it. It's a subjective topic in regards to what is effective activism. Now, he's already actually had that conversation or debate. For him, it's a debate because for Vegan Gains, everything's got to be a fight with him.
That's what I told you.
Yeah, he told me that during our chat. But that was like, that...
He doesn't discuss.
What Dr. Leo Venus did is what I wanted to do. And it just seemed that Vegan Gains, all he wanted to do was shit all over John and not really talk about how to effectively do vegan activism, how to do it effectively. It seemed that's what I got out of it. And Dr. Leo Venus was talking more in regards to that. That's what I wanted to talk about. Like, what is effective vegan activism?
Well,
and we actually did kind of touch that topic.
Leo's way is more passive, and Vegan Gains' way is more in your face. I think that both work well because there's all different types of people out there in the world. And what would turn one person off would turn other people switch other people on. Sure.
The way I see it is the vast majority of people, and Michelle Lowe actually kind of talked about this. I think you have to be forceful. I think you have to be persistent and consistent, and you have to be informational. But I believe you have to be polite, but only aggressive when it's necessary. And I personally think from Vegan Gains' past and the people that he's talked to where he's actually been able to get their attention, I think there are times when he's initially aggressive, and that's great because that's what got their attention. But then it's after that he gets wrapped up in the argument. Like he starts actually playing into the argument rather than just focusing on trying to transition this person into veganism rather than just debunking them and making them feel like an idiot or making them feel stupid. And that was the case with Penguin Zero, which I was actually pretty sad to see that Penguin Zero made a recipe of like a pie or something like that. And I like the first ingredient he used was cow's milk. And I was like, ah, fuck. I was hoping that even with all that whole aggressive shit that Penguin Zero, or Charlie is his name, would have actually gone at least more plant-based. But yeah, when you're using milk as the first ingredient in your fruit pie or whatever he was making, I didn't watch the whole video. It's very disheartening.
I don't watch any of his videos. Isn't he a gamer?
I have no idea. I happened to just see a video where he was cooking. I don't watch his videos either, but I saw that one video. I saw the thumbnail for it. It popped up on my little YouTube shit here, and I saw the first ingredient that he was using was milk, and I was like, "Fuck, man," And I just thought that could have been handled differently. The issue is that we don't know because we don't have a time machine. We can't go into the future. We don't know. What I do know is that any type of relationship that Vegan Gains could have potentially had with Charlie or even his audience was pretty much squandered, is the way I see it, because he did get those 2 guys to try out veganism. I remember during the debates, he had 3 debates afterwards, right?
Yeah.
One of them was like a completely just blowing it off, and then the 2 guys he did. But the amount of people that are now just saying fuck veganism, whatever, fuck him, they're just a bunch of fucking crazy people being super aggressive and all that shit. I think that has potential to have more of a negative effect than a positive effect if the situation would have been handled differently in regards to Vegan Gains. And that's all I wanted to discuss with Vegan Gains.
Yeah, actually it does bother me with Vegan Gains when people like come onto his channel and they'll donate to him and they'll say like there's this one going, oh, I'm almost vegan, but I can't give up cheese or whatever. And instead of saying, okay, that's fine, just there's vegan cheeses out there.
Right.
Try this. There's some cheese recipes you can do. Have a look it up. Mm-hmm. And then, and the first thing that he pointed out was, well, you're not actually vegan. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. Like, that's fine to say that you're not actually vegan. You can't say that you're vegan if you still do this. So it's like saying, yeah. And then you're like, okay, but then say, okay, so with cheese, you can, try this, this, and this, and this. And just saying like obvious stuff, right? He's like, oh, fuck you. You eat cheese. Like, you should just not eat cheese. Like, because otherwise, like, you're so cruel and all this shit. And I'm just like, there was no information given. Like I remember I was addicted to cheese, and all I would say, if people are like, oh, I just love cheese. I'm like, yeah, oh my God, me too. I love cheese. And now, but I got over it after a year. But I used vegan cheeses. I used vegan cheeses until eventually after a year, I don't even crave cheese anymore.
Of course, right. You see, but something like that is reasonable. And most people, I think that's a more positive approach, if you ask me, because most people don't respond well to negativity. And if anything, that should be proof of how he's, of how it's gone with the people he's talked to. Like, how well did that go with Penguin Zero and this guy who has 5 million subscribers?
Actually, it's funny, when I've talked to people and they're like, oh yeah, crazy vegans and stuff, and I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, like Vegan Gains. And I went, oh, do you watch YouTube? They're like, no, I just read it in an article. Like, there's so many articles written about him, about Vegan Gains. And then it's just like, okay, he's making it look like bad, but then on the other hand, it's like he wouldn't have been on these articles if he hadn't have been aggressive. So it's like, it's one of those things where if you're negative, right, you're going to get that attention, but you're going to get that negative attention. But if you're positive, then you're not going to get attention.
Well, I would actually have to disagree because Earthling Ed is getting all kinds of attention. And his channel is growing, and Vegan Gains' channel isn't growing, as far as I know. It's growing very slowly. And Earthling Ed, Joey Carbstrong, I don't think Joey Carbstrong's negative, by the way. I think he's very realistic. And what he's doing, I've noticed that he actually tries to help people. Like, I love Joey Carbstrong.
Yeah, he's good because he is strong, but he's also very understanding.
Exactly.
Vegan Gains, he's a sociopath. He doesn't have much understanding for other people. And you can feel that when I talk to him personally, I can feel that he's disinterested, unless I'm talking about a subject that interests him. He's like, I don't really care to be here,
Yeah, and unfortunately that's not really helpful to most people. So, it's just frustrating because he's really smart. I think he's extremely smart. He's very well read. This guy just had a debate with Dr. Leo Venus. The guy's a doctor. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That says something.
It wasn't about nutrition. It was about effective activism.
True. But they kind of got into psychology a little bit. But then, Vegan Gains didn't want to get into that because he's a sociopath and he doesn't have any emotions or whatever. Or he acts like he doesn't have any emotions. Whatever. I don't fucking know. I hate to push judgments on people. But,
that's because he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. But then when Michelle came on, then he was just listening to her.
I noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually, I was like, wow, Vegan Gains can actually listen,
yeah, but that's because she was saying things that agreed with him. So, of course, he let her speak.
Well, initially, she said that, if you want you want the minority to influence the majority, the mass population, I noticed, like, his facial expressions changed because she said you have to be, like, persistent and you have to be forceful and something else, but you have to be polite as well too. And when she said polite, he like his look. Watch it if you watch the video. I should probably please. I was trying to hear it, but her quality was really shit. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was really hard. Mm-hmm. Oh, Plants for the Win says you're awfully loud. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's just you're probably sitting a little close. To your laptop, but. Anyways, I just get frustrated with Vegan Gains. That's all it is. Because...
you know what we should do, though? What I was going to... I thought about this afterwards. But we should... You should play off Vegan Gains. So, like in other people, right? So, like, if Vegan Gains got Penguin Zero's attention at that time, now it's too late. It's already gone. Yeah. The ship has sailed. But you should have... you could have come in and then made a video to Penguin Zero saying, I agree with Vegan Gains, and then just agree with some of the things that because the thing is as well, I've been reading about, like convincing people and stuff. And it's like, if you agree with some of the things that they say, they feel like you're like, they feel like you're a friend, not an enemy, right? And they kind of put their guard down. So if you agree, like, yeah, Vegan Gains was this and Vegan Gains was that, right? Even though it might piss Vegan Gains, he's fine, he's a big boy. But like a lot of people who thought the same thing, or a lot of medias would be like, yeah, that's right. He was too aggressive and blah, blah, blah. Then they're listening to you. They got their guard down because they trust you now. They listen to you. And you go, yeah, Vegan Gains was this and that, and then say like, if Penguin Zero, and then put your own input and then your own 2 cents and be like, like I see his point, like, you're saying that, I think that Vegan Gains made a good point, that he was saying that this girl was a piece of shit for doing it live, but it's like, but it happens, but so is it not make you a piece of shit if you do it behind closed doors? Like, if someone else does it for you behind closed doors and then you eat it, is that okay? Like, it's the same treatment, like, and then saying, okay, this is what happens in the fish, because fish get like cut open and stuff. Someone said that they want us to do this again. We'll do it on my channel next time because we'll get a lot more people.
Yeah, for sure.
Surprisingly, I don't get that many people, and I think that's because a lot of guys are joined to me because they can't speak English and they can watch me without being able to understand English, right? And then or they just watch for the nude aspect. So if they see that I'm clothed and they see that I'm just speaking English, a lot of them just like, no. Because, like, seriously, I only have, like, 40 people, like, maximum 40 people watching my live stream. And then when I leave, when I get off it, like, as soon as I get off it, it's, like, 600 views. So it's like 600 people, but only like, well, obviously not 40, but obviously like 40 people, and then some people left and then some people joined and watched for a little while. But it still goes towards like a lot of people would have seen and logged off. Like a lot of I just have a lot of horny guys that just want to see me naked. So
seems like it. Yeah, I mean, probably a lot of younger.
Get a lot of "you're so beautiful," and then we'll have to skip ourselves.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of younger fellas there, who haven't figured out other things on the internet. But yeah, but I mean,
I get a lot of older people, but okay.
Or that, yeah. Shit, I don't know. But next time, yeah, we can do it on your channel and all that stuff. But so I think that's a good thing to wrap up with everything. I've actually we've been at this for an hour and 34 minutes.
Better than last time. It's half as much.
Yeah, last time, oh my god, we were almost going for like 3 hours. Oh my god, I was pissed. I was pissed that audio got all fucked up.
I know. That's why I told you to test it, and you're like, no, it's good. And I'm like, oh, okay.
So yeah, guys, this is the second time we've had to do this because I fucked it up. It wasn't Emily's fault. It was my fault. But anyways, guys, I want to thank everyone for joining. Emily, do you have anything to say to everyone, or any closing statements? Anything?
Yeah, just if you want to see some more vegan content, come on my my YouTube channel, Slightly Crazy Vegan. Love to have you there, and I sometimes do live streams, but I got to set up the Streamlabs stuff. But yeah, first.
Which I'm going to teach her how to do the whole streaming stuff here, actually, after we get off here. So anyways, guys, Slightly Crazy Vegan's channel is going to be in the description box down below. Make sure to subscribe to her and watch her content. She's got all sorts of good cooking stuff. And if she is a nudist, so if you're into that stuff, and make sure to subscribe to her and support the vegan community. I've subscribed to her for a while. I've been watching her content. And
did you see my new one?
I haven't yet, but I saw it. Hand herbivore, yeah. Right? Yeah, the recipe. I know I haven't seen it yet, but I saw it's up. But I'm gonna check it out. And yeah, guys, I want to thank everyone for joining, and hopefully we'll be able to do this soon. We just got to schedule it. And thanks for everyone joining in on everything. I really thought this was a good live stream for the first time. So we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.